Welcome to Would-Be House and Garden. Today is May 5th, 2024, and here we are in our Zone 9A garden. This is our second annual walk about the garden. We now moved in 2 years ago, and I really do feel like this is the end of my sophomore year. I'm still new to gardening, and I was quite the wise fool last year. I enthusiastically planted lots of things, but I underestimated the destruction that deer can cause. I expected the nibble of fresh leaves off of my trees and shrubs, but I didn't expect how bad deer would be. Deer rut happened from about September to December of last year, and the male deer rubbing their heads and antlers up and down the trunks of my young trees and marking their territory, it resulted in the devastation of many plants, and they just flat out destroyed a couple of my shrubs. Frustratingly, not even to eat anything, but just to mark their territory. So that's why this year you will see a lot more cages in addition to the new plants that we have in our garden. The laurel hedge is still looking pretty unruly, and it has the nice haircut provided by the deer up to that 4-foot level. And my sweet bay magnolias that I planted my first year, they all died, and I planted new ones last year, and half of them died too. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but somehow they are not thriving. In a layer in front of them, I planted Oklahoma redbuds. Those are going to be quite pretty with bright pink blooms in early spring. And then I also planted clusters of crepe myrtles. So both at the south driveway and here at the north driveway, I have one Tuscadora crepe myrtle and then 3 Hopi crepe myrtles to create a little crepe myrtle cluster. I took down the pine tree that used to be here and pruned back that juniper. And otherwise, the only other addition to the front yard has been an irrigation system. I put in a drip irrigation system here in the front yard and also in a couple locations elsewhere in the yard. Our neighbors are doing some construction here today. You might hear the saw blades in the background. Going up the north driveway, one big change from last year is that we no longer have a shed up here. The shed was moved to the rear of the property, and it's now a garden shed / tool storage shed in the orchard. And now instead of a shed right here at the top of this driveway, I have a big pile of mulch, and the pump house is still there beyond with the guest house the farthest away. And the white tent you see is not a hazmat tent, but it's a part of, it's my hoop house in the orchard. So here in front of you is the circle driveway that will, in the future, redirect the garage to the guest house and connect to the new garage for the main house. And right in front of you is a pile of rocks that I need to move somewhere. And straight ahead of you is the circle with the katsura, the much awaited katsura tree that was planted. It had a couple of mishaps. It got scorched during the summer, and then the deer just attacked it. So I cut it down to a little 1-foot section, and surprisingly a little branch at the bottom started growing, and now it's a couple feet tall, which is a hopeful sign. We have a few little gem magnolias in cages here. Of the north privacy screen where I had the Hicks yews, they thrive. So they thrive on neglect. The podocarpus yews, they all perished. I think that they have maybe just a little bit of green on them. I think they're pretty much dead. On the right there, I also have a little cluster of Sioux and Tonto crepe myrtles. But I bought those from a vendor on Amazon, and I don't think they were good quality. I don't think any of them survived the winter. Straight ahead of you, you do see the shed that's been moved. We'll paint it one day, and I'll go into more detail on the orchard when we get there. Right in front of you in those cages are a cluster of vine maples, and they have just thrived. They were very easy plants. Here's another planter bed with crepe myrtles that I don't think survived. That is the driveway approach to the guest house. This blue tarp here is the beginnings of the circle driveway that then connects all the way up there to the future garage. But we're not going to go up there. We're going to continue our path down this way. On the side of that guest house, we had the yellow anise shrubs, Osala yellow anise shrubs, and those were another victim of the deer rut. They were just taken down. They ate every single leaf and chopped the branches, so I don't know if they'll survive. That is a Yoshino cryptomeria, and then in the cages are dappled willows. Those were planted from hardwood cuttings, which is kind of neat. I did not expect them to survive. And in the distance is the pool house. No more dumpster, no more propane tank. Here on the driveway side, in these cages, we have moonglow magnolias. Of the 7, I think they mostly survived, except one looks like it just turned black. I don't know what I did wrong there. Looking here back at the main house, we did take down one of the vine maples. It was looking pretty sad, but otherwise no updates there. Here we have 5 more vine maples, and that stump used to be a big cedar tree, and my husband cut it down. We had professional people come and take down a madrona tree that was on the property line, really close to our neighbor's house. But then my husband felt encouraged to try his luck with the chainsaw, and this year he has done tremendous work. I don't know, maybe a dozen alder trees and then a few others. It's been pretty exciting. You'll get to see the destruction in the backyard in a little bit. So this is another view of the mini woodlands. The shed is gone, and also the greenhouse that used to be here is now relocated into my orchard. It's a very pretty scene with the hillside beyond. We're now heading back towards the street. You can see the other side of that laurel hedge. The laurel hedge, I will be planting replacement laurels. I tried that last year, but the deer ate everything. So I know this year when I do it, I have some cuttings that I'm propagating in my hoop house. I will have to fence them off once I put them in the ground to give them a chance. Here is the azalea border, which got really dried out during our 3-week vacation last summer, and many things died, but surprisingly, a few things did pop back. And then in the cages, we have the accolade cherry trees, and they are doing pretty well, but you can see they all are just 3 feet tall. Anything above that cage, the deer are nibbling away. Ahead of you is a gaping hole in the laurel hedge, which I have plans to plant into. The Dr. Seuss tree, it survived the trimming that we gave it last year, and the variegated Pieris japonica is looking pretty good. I did something a bit radical the other day. I identified 2 or 3 big branches that had solid green leaves, and I understood that they will just keep growing if you leave them. So I took them out. So now we are left with just the variegated leaves. This thing is huge and so old, so cool. So hopefully I didn't cause too much damage. This is now the south driveway with the rhododendrons in bloom. Beyond, we had some daffodils a couple weeks ago, but they've now already had their moment. Here in the loop driveway, I did plant a Cornus controversa variegata, and the deer nipped all the buds before I had a chance to put the cage around it. And then we had a windstorm that then blew the cage over, which then further damaged the tree. I don't know if it will survive, which is a real bummer because the wedding cake tree should be so beautiful. Nothing new here in the tennis court. Ben just trimmed back that maple tree in the corner. And now we enter the backyard. We discovered this other gate this step. They used to be covered with who knows what kind of muck. But now we have another entryway into the yard. That's the pool up there. And then we turn here into the backyard. So in the distance, you see the kids' play equipment and also the south privacy screen. That's where I have the relocated rhododendrons, which have absolutely thrived. I wasn't sure if you could do that with mature rhododendrons, but the answer is yes. And there we also have Sangokaku Japanese maples. I have 4 of them. One of them, my dear 4-year-old, took a saw to it and tried to cut it in half. It's still up, but I don't know how well it will do. And then another one, the deer rut, they damaged it so much that I had to cut it down to a stump. And we'll see how much that will, if it will come back. We're now walking towards the woodlands garden there in the distance. We have our lawn that is manicured, and then here, right in front of you, just like cut in the bed between us and that south border a little while ago, they will become a perennial meadow. So that's the plan for these areas. And right here in our 2 sticks, one is a rising sun redbud. It arrived really dry. I don't know if it will make it. And also on your left is a Oklahoma redbud. I'm hoping to create a line of ornamental trees that create the border between this woodlands garden and the more manicured garden of the rest of the backyard. The woodlands garden is always one of my favorite places to go, especially now in the spring. Things are just so lush and vibrant, and I think that my work here will be a light touch. I'd like to add some more native plants, maybe improve the path a little bit. There's lots of moss that I have now. Maybe this place should be called my moss farm. I actually came back here and took some moss from these trees and transplanted it elsewhere because I love it so much. But I think this is where it's happiest. There's that moss rock. We did have a couple of interesting visitors back here. I'll show you in a moment here. There was a tree up ahead that's now gone, which something was gnawing away at it. It was maybe a badger, maybe a bear, we didn't know, but it had damaged the tree so much that we were worried it was going to fall down. So that was one of the trees that we took down as a precaution. But then the rest of the trees that were taken down on the property, they were mostly in the area here. So I'll do I'll insert a few of the pictures from last year here and then also later on my walk so we can really appreciate the difference. But I think maybe it really was a dozen alder trees that my husband cut down. We like how the alder looks, but they grow fast and they're relatively weak. So let me show you what happens when they fall down on their own. And it can be unpredictable and a little bit scary. So we decided to just take matters into our own hands and cut some of them down. So now we have a racetrack of logs. This is temporary while we figure out what we will do here. The willow tree that I had planted in that pile of mulch there on the right, it died. So I have a new one growing in the hoop house. Hopefully it will get planted and I'll try to take better care of it and see if that one will take. And then right in front of you is something very silly. It is a Christmas tree farm. We have some balsam fir, Fraser fir, Douglas fir, blue spruce, and giant sequoias. So maybe in 5 years' time, not only will we have a Christmas tree, but we will be able to invite our friends over to pick their own Christmas tree. It's pretty silly, but I just love Christmas. And so, of course, I wanted a Christmas farm on my house. The blueberry fairy dust that I planted here, none of it took. I now know that I need to take better care of that. We've now maneuvered roughly to the opposite corner of the property from where we started. It's about 300 feet on a side, and we are about to enter the orchard. So the orchard has been a really fun project. I should show you what it looked like last year. It was just a pile of brown detritus of blackberries, but now we actually have quite a lot planted in there. But before we go in there, I just want to show you this one magnificent maple. Look how tall that is. It's just, it's pretty cool. It's just off our property, but we now get a really nice view into it. So here we turn the corner, and we're about to enter the orchard. So that right there that you see is the revived greenhouse. That is hosting my seedlings, the hazmat shelter for all my slightly bigger plants. And then of course the garden shed in the distance. So let's make my way in here. So here on the right, we put some of the alder logs, and that might become in the future, raised beds with some hugelkultur one day. But here we have apricot trees. We have 2 of each. Apricots, we have plums, we have pears, we have apples, we have cherries, we have nectarines, and then we do have the existing kiwi with trellis that's fallen down. And we have some peaches and figs. We did put in this fence for the deer. I even tried to do the reinforced tensioned fishing line, but let me tell you, it didn't work. We now have an order for some electrified fence, and hopefully that will be a better fix. So in front, you see once again back towards the driveway, and here is an osmanthus tea olive tree. I moved that from another location where it was not too happy. And I forgot to point out that on both gates we have those little twigs, which are wisteria. We have a wisteria snow showers and a wisteria amethyst falls at both of the ends. So now we're continuing back now at the back of the guest house. I am, in my mind, I would love to do these grass pathways that then meander through beds. We have a boxwood that's going to start making the north or east and west walls of the orchard. And here in front we have a saucer magnolia tree and a little gem. And on this side we have a Satomi dogwood. And this south face of the orchard has red twig dogwood. We have a Carolina Midnight Loropetalum. We have an orange skyrocket barberry, a cedrus, Deodora Gerard weeping cedar, some transplanted burning bush just from our own yard, a few fat Alberts, and then all along this edge I will do Tasmanian mountain pepper bushes. I just have 3 of them. My plan is to propagate them to fill in the rest. So here we continue back in this back part of the property. I'm hoping to one day have there be a little retreat located here where you could admire the awesome wild forest, but that then from this retreat point you could take a path that connects you all the way back to the house. And here, this is a good point to compare what did this area used to look like versus what it looks like now. So we kept the firs. So we have 3 dancing firs. And you can see straight ahead of you is an alder that's dead that needs to still get taken out, and one more that's in the middle of the grass. But there used to be lots more. So they've now been taken down, and this used to be the shade garden, but now I think it has to be reimagined a little bit because it does get a lot more sun. So I think that the plantings that I'll do here will be maybe just slightly different than what I had originally considered. And here in the area here, what I was calling the hidden lawn, I will shrink in size a little bit. You can see our existing fire pit logs there. And then create larger beds for planting. We're now facing the south side of the guest house. I planted 3 Orium Golden Full Moon Japanese maples there, and I have plans for that bed to provide a little bit more privacy there. And then just on the other side of that walkway connection to the guest house is a Ukigumo, one of the white-leaved Japanese maples. So we're leaving now the smaller lawn area of the guest house and entering back towards the grand main lawn space. You can see the kids' play structure there again in the distance and the main house on your right. The plan, actually this is a good vantage point to see where I hope to have the future perennial meadow. It's where we used to have all the stinging nettle and blackberries that I took out right behind that giant fir tree. I'm hoping for that to become a nice, vibrant summertime source of joy. Oh, I'm going to see if I can get a closer look. We have a pile of branches here. I'm talking quietly because there is a mama bird and her baby's in here somewhere. Can we find them? Did you see her fly out? I don't want to get too close, but look. There. Okay, mama bird, I'm going now. She's chirping at me. In the front of us is the tennis court again, and right behind that yellow scaffolding is the beginnings of my tennis screen. Those are 5 Thuya Plaquita viscerans, and I got 5 of them with the plan of propagating them to do the other 40, 50 that I need. Here we're entering what still feels like quite a utilitarian corridor. Oh, and these wood planks. This is the kind of continuation of that wood walkway that I was talking about. Next summer, I hope that we will have a chance to attack that upper level deck and maybe create a deck down here. Possibly, in my dream scenario, we'd have some outdoor showers for after pool use or for washing off muddy boots. But from here we continue to the source of a lot of pride for me for this year is our new patio. So this used to be a deck that was rotting and in disrepair, and we took it out and we put in this Italian porcelain paper deck, and I cast concrete circles for the walkways that connect between them. We have on the edges there, I'm blanking on the name of what that is. It doesn't matter. Cinnamon Girl Distillium. Yeah, that's what it is. And then here we have some of that transplanted moss and rocks, and we have hinoki forest grass, the koi pond, which is still empty but pretty darn cool, the existing vegetation, the Japanese maple, burning bush, rhododendrons, and vine maples. And here we still have to put in the kebony decking, the wood decking that goes in between. So next year's video you'll see that. But here on the left you have some burly blue juniper, a Ozakasuki Japanese maple in the front, In the back you can't see them. There's a couple of camellias. There is a Sadahara O and a Mary Kirk. Right in front of that pool house is an Emperor 1 Japanese maple, and then Blue Star junipers. And here in the corner we have 3 yak rhododendrons. There is a Prince yak, a Yummy yak, and a Yaku angel. And then we have a collection of heaths that are in white, bright pink, and pink. And on this side we have soft crest mahonias, and then 4 more camellias. We have April Snow, Pink Perfection, Yuletide, Sasanqua, and then Jax. Jax was so prolific even just in this first year of life. This thing here is a wolf eyes dogwood. It is just about to pop, and it's hard to miss how awesome that deciduous existing azalea is over there. It looks quite spectacular. So we're moving down towards the pool. The rhododendrons are in bloom this year. The pool house has no updates other than it no longer houses all my gardening gear. The guest house also, not much has changed there. We did have a couple of tweaks to this privacy screen in front. The Hannah's Heart Katsura tree is still there. The Cryptomeria japonica secans were destroyed by the deer, so I replaced those with 3 Wichita Blue junipers. The existing teardrop arborvitae and hinoki cypress, they've also been damaged by the deer, but I'm hoping that they'll come back. Right here in this foreground is a Seirui Japanese maple, and then a Bloodgood Japanese maple behind it. An existing barberry. We have quite a few black dragon cryptomeria, and they are putting on new growth. They look to be quite happy. I have cages around a lot of the remaining cryptomeria secans. I'm hopeful that they could bounce back even from a cut down state. We'll see. Here in this corner we have 1 more Bloodgood Japanese maple, and this is a Mikawa, I have my sheet here, Mikawa Yatsubusa. Oh, I'm not showing it to you quite well. There you go. It has really cool leaves. And over here we have a Fire Glow on the left and a Rusei Weeping on the right. And we have, in this area, we have a trio with 2 autumn moons. The one on the left thrived, the one on the right, I don't know what's going on. And then in the back we have a Hogi Oku. Sorry, I butchered all of those. The existing roadies that are here to remain, and the pool house. So what a year. Always so exciting to see how things change and what we develop. We are here in the center garden, and I am once again so excited to find out what changes we will make in the next year and how things continue to evolve and change, and what new things we learn as we continue developing this garden. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time.